Is it live? You started?
With
Great.
my face.
My question was, how can we,
Why don't you flip it?
I'm going to.
how can we reach the people that have been brainwashed with dogma instead of true religion, for lack of a better word?
Is to reach people who are already open-minded. Because a lot of the times when you say, you know, as an example, Christianity is not a
My
religion
apologies
like
ahead of
that,
time.
people get offended. Or most of the time, our people will approach people like, Jesus is fake. Or
Islam.
Jesus ain't real. So the way we approach things is what I think the best way to get our people out of that. So instead of saying Jesus isn't real, say, well, do you know that, you know, Christianity was created
Peace.
500 years
Will you hold
after
this up,
Jesus'
please?
death? And if you look up the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed, you'll see that the Roman Emperor Constantine got a bunch of other Europeans together and said, we're going to talk about the actual life of this man named Yeshua. We're going to call him Jesus, and we're going to get rid of all the historical evidence that he was a man and only write in things that make him seem like he's divine. So once we put that perspective in our people, then they'll realize, oh, crap, I've been royally played.
I don't think so.
Right? 'Cause it worked for me.
I've
too.
tried it, and all I get is a stiff arm every
Yeah.
time truth come out. They,
Yeah, but that's fine, because everyone has the right to whatever religion they want to believe in.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's why when Noble Drew started the Moore Science Temple of America, it started as a civic organization to teach our people law. But then since, you know, the Europeans basically drowned our people in fake Christianity, which is we're dealing with dogma, it adopted a religious affidavit to teach our people the differences in who the devil really is. Right? So now,
You need those?
you'll see it was created in 325 AD, meaning 325 years after the death of Jesus Christ.
But I mean, we were lied to all this time.
Yes. And then, yeah,
Yeah, but he was saying that, you know, when he comes to people and talk to them and they kind of shun you away, that's only one person. Like, just say you had a group of 10.
Damn.
Maybe out of that 10, maybe 4 may say, oh, forget it, I don't want to hear it, I don't hear it, because they, but then there might be somebody else who got an ear who's really inquisitive and really want to know. And yep, and there you go, you get through. Because we can't give up on, that's just like when somebody's out there preaching the word of the Bible. You got 10, 25 people, maybe 20, but 5 are still going to listen, and some 5 are not going to listen, whatever. You know what I mean?
and that's their
So,
right.
but that's something heavy to hear, because all my life I grew up knowing about, you know, Christ and
Right.
what? And now come to find out?
It's not all a lie.
Okay.
Right. A lot of it is true. Like when you say the word Christ, you're dealing with Zoroastrianism, or the religion in so-called India, which is really Hindustan. You're talking about Krishna, or the activation of your pineal gland. So Krishna is Christ. Yeah, that's all it is. So when you say Jesus the Christ, you're talking about a man who activated his mind. That's it. So it's not a lie.
Okay.
It's just they portray it as something grander than what it actually is.
Okay.
To get us thinking something else. Which I'm going to explain how
Press
Paul
hard on the
used
paper.
to get us to self-sabotage, right? So when we studied that Christianity was created in 325 AD by the Roman Emperor Constantine, it's called the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed, which my sister, Ed, she graduated St. Thomas Regional, whatever. When we went to her graduation, I looked at the leaflet and it said the Nicene Creed right on. So they're telling you the truth, but they just know, well, these people only believe in the Bible when we tell them, so they're not going to look up history. Get it? So they're telling you the truth, you're just not seeing it.
Right.
So the Nicene Creed was created in 325 AD, again. They then used those principles, those dogmatic principles, and called it religion. And I'm going to explain dogma in a minute.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of us have learned about the Crusades and Inquisition in school, right? They're not telling you that these Crusades and Inquisitions were warring against you, meaning us, so-called black people. They say it was to punish heretics, right? And those and pagans, right? But when you look up the word heretic, it'll say a free thinker.
Wow.
That's the definition of heretic.
Slide up.
Then we look up the definition of pagan. A pagan is a villager. Now, back in the day, what was the common occupation of villagers? They were farmers. So what did those farmers use to figure out which seasons to plant their seeds?
Stars.
To harvest, right? Which was astrology, right? Which in the Bible it says, I leave these, these signs, the sun, the moon, and the stars, as symbols and seasons for you, right?
Yeah.
So they were punishing those who knew the science of as above, so below. And they called them witches.
Yep.
Right? That's what the Roman Catholic Church was fighting against. Right? Because again, when you study the Roman Empire, you'll see that whenever Rome went to an area, in order to control the people, they controlled the food and people's access to the food. Now relate that to today, EBT.
Yeah. Yep. Everybody go to
Controlling
Christ.
our access to food.
Yeah.
Right? So whenever you see the Inquisition and Crusades, they say we're fighting in the name of God, but it's really a political operation for control purposes. And they just use that dogmatic version of God to blind people. Right? So now we're going to go to the dictionary to look up the difference between dogma and religion. Do not reject religion. Understand that what they've been teaching us is dogma
And not religion.
posed as religion, so don't get it twisted, right? So I'm going to have you look up dogma, share, three of you share, and the three of you share this dictionary and look up religion.
Can you slide the couch up a little bit so they can hear you better? Use this one, it's more comfortable.
So the reason why partly why we're talking about this is because a lot of our people have what is known as religious confusion, and there's a lot of controversy dealing with religion because we don't even know what the words mean, right? But then we say we practice religion, but we don't know what the word means, and then in the Bible it says first there was the Word. The what? The Word, right? And the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and all things come into existence through Him. But we don't even know what the word God means.
Right.
So what does dogma mean?
Is theology a system of doctrines proclaimed true by a religious sect, Christian dogma?
Now, proclaimed true, does that mean it's true? Continue, please.
A principle, belief, or statement of idea or opinion, especially one firmly or authoritatively considered to be absolute truth.
So it's a belief or an opinion, right? All right. So let's say we're looking at a color. Let's say we're looking at maroon, right? I can have the opinion that it's more reddish. You can have the opinion that it's brownish. So now, since it's based off opinion, we're fighting. Continue, please.
A system of such principles or beliefs.
What else?
The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate of the stormy present. Lincoln said that. Latin from Greek, opinion, belief, public decree. From dokia, to seem, to think.
So it seems like it's true,
Right.
right? Now look up religion. And this team over here.
Lefty team. Concern over what exists beyond the visible world, differentiated from philosophy in that it operates through faith or intuition rather than reason, and generally including the idea of existence of a single being, a group of beings, an eternal principle or transcendent spiritual entity that has created the world that it governs, that controls its destinies, or that intervenes occasionally in the natural course of its history. Wow. As well as the idea that ritual, prayer, spiritual exercises, certain principles of everyday conduct, etc., are expedient, due, or spiritually rewarding, or arise naturally out of an inner need as a human response to the belief in such a being. The belief in such a being, principle, etc. A specific fundamental set of beliefs and practices generally agreed upon by a number of persons or sects, the Christian religion. 3, the body of persons adhering to Sorry, I need a thing. Adhering to, sorry, I lost it. To a particular, thank you, set of beliefs and practices, a world council of religions. 4, a deep conviction of the validity of religious beliefs and practices to get religion. 5, the life or estate of a monk, nun, etc. to enter religion. The practice of religious beliefs, ritual observance of faith, a point of matter of ethics or conscientious to make religion of fighting prejudice, religions, this is just saying some other things
Same
now.
thing over
Yeah.
and over.
Etymology.
Etymology. Mm.
It means to tie back.
Oh yeah, to
Religion
tie,
means to tie back.
equivalent to tie, fasten. Sorry, the words are so small.
All right, so
Yeah, turn it around.
religion means or to go back. Right? So religion means to tie back. Tie back to what? Dogma means opinion. Right? We all know we're all entitled to our own opinion, but that doesn't mean it's true, right? So religion is tying you back to the Creator. Right? Now in the Bible, in the book of John, I'm pretty sure, Jesus says, "Is it not written in your law that ye are gods?" That's true, right?
Yes.
So now, what does God mean?
To invoke.
To invoke. Right? Now, if you don't believe me, take out your phone and go to this website.
Etymonline.com. ETYMONLINE.com.
Online.com. Etym is Greek, it means true. So etymon is dealing with the true definition of a word. Right? Now, if you're religious, you study the Bible and you study the Quran, then you know that first there was the Word. Right? And the Word was God. Right? And all things come into existence through Him. Right? Now, the reason why we're talking about the difference between dogma and religion is because dogma, the dirty priesthood, would teach you that God is a noun, right? They say God's up in the clouds and He's going to do this and He's going to do that, and God's a male and He's going to do this and He sent His Son and blah, 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 blah. So they're using the word God as a noun, correct? Right? But if you go to etymononline.com and you type in G-O-D, it'll show you God is derived from Old German Gott, right? You see that on your phone?
Yeah, I see God, Old English, God, Supreme Being, Deity, the Christian God. Yeah, Germanic.
Germanic, right?
Yep.
And then later, when you scroll down, it'll say it's from a Proto-Indo-European root, which means before the family of languages that we call European. So before the French language, before the English language, before the German language, before the Dutch language, before the Danish language, before the Italian language, before all of those languages, there existed something else. So they're telling you that this word God is derived from Sanskrit, Huta, and it means to invoke, to call upon, or to pour out. So God is a verb it is something that we all do, not a noun.
Someone asked if theos also means to invoke.
Yes, and again, when you're studying the consonant, sound, and language chart, or the principles of phonetics, sound, phonetics is dealing with sound, like phone. When you deal with phonetics, you're dealing with sounds. So according to the consonant, sound, and language chart, which H is a consonant, not a vowel, H and G are all guttural sounds. So H, G, G, your throat is moving. So dealing with the principle of languages and transliteration, H and G are interchangeable. So when you see the word God in English, and theos in Greek, and huta in Sanskrit, and hu in the Medu Neter or Egyptian hieroglyphics, it's the same word. It all means the same thing. It all means to invoke, to call upon, and to pour out. Now, the reason why they teach you otherwise is so that if I say God is going to do this for your life, it seems like I'm speaking for him. So now if you want to get to God, you have to come through me. So now I'm a gatekeeper. And then if you question me, I'm going to say, don't question the word of God. You're not ready for this. You have to have faith and believe.
Yeah, that's the
Meanwhile, I got gaiters on.
Wallet open.
Meanwhile, I got gaiters on, a nice suit, and you're struggling.
Yeah. And I got an airplane in the airport.
Yeah. Get it?
Mm.
Right? Dogma is, Eve came from the rib of Adam. That's how that works, right? Religion is, observe all things which I commanded of you, and lo, I am with you always. Meaning, if you observe nature, you'll see the truth. Mm-hmm. Nature tells you men come from women. You see the difference? So what the dirty priesthood have done, who worked for Rome, because remember Rome created the Nicene Creed, they've gotten rid of the female principle.
Creating an
To
imbalance.
promote this idea that men are in charge, the patriarchy. So they got rid of the mother, the father, and the son, and they call it the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. You're the Holy Ghost. Your energy is the Holy Ghost. Without you, we're not here. Everyone got a belly button. Right? That's the difference from religion and dogma. To keep us in their or under their control. So you go there hoping, I'm going to be a shitty person out there. I'm going to sell drugs to my people. I'm going to beat my kids for no reason. Right? Right? But on Sunday, I'm going to worship, feel good. Because it's all mental. Because it's all mental. It's all mental. Right? It's all mental. This is the priesthood telling you that it's mental in the Bible. Our Father, right, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Right? The universe is mental. Meaning you don't see nothing except for this working. You don't do nothing except for this working. Nothing. You can't do anything without this working. Right? So when they're telling you thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, they're telling you that heaven is a state of mind. And whatever you think, you manifest on this planet. So if you think, I'm going to sell crack to my people out there, and then go to church on Sunday, and I'm saved now, then that's what you think. Right? If you think, I did all this work, I prepared this meal, nature provided these fruits and these vegetables and these animals, I prepared this, but I'm going to thank Jesus for doing it, then that's what you think. That doesn't seem the truth. Nature still gave you all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's how that works. Any questions?
Any questions in the chat?
So, since they've gotten you out of alignment with God, who is you, they set up precautionary measures for you to be a shitty person. So whatever you do, they teach you to blame it on the devil.
Right.
But if you're God, then you're also who?
The devil.
Yep.
All right, so can you give me the circle 7? So knowing this, right, I know a lot of you, I know my aunt doesn't know who reality is, but this man came to us to tell us the truth. That there ain't no devil but you. So stop blaming someone else. Take responsibility for your life. Right? So I'm going to read from this book, which is talked about in the book of Revelations. Right? The angel came with his rock on the solid foundation and his foot in the cares of the world, meaning the waters. Right? And he told the people to devour a small book. Right? So Noble Drew was prophesied in the book of Revelations. Now, let's deal with God and the devil. This is chapter 3, the unity of life. Elu's lessons. No man lives unto himself, for every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. Right? Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will love and not demand love in return. They will not do unto other men what they would not have done, what they would not have other men do unto them. There are two selves, the higher self and the lower self. Meaning, within me there's a higher self and lower self. Within you there's a higher self and lower self. Within every single person in this room and outside of this building, there's a higher self and lower self. The higher self is human spirit clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah or God or whatever you want to call it. The universe. You can call it whatever you want. It's the causeless cause and the rootless root for everything, so call it whatever you want. Right? The lower self is the carnal self, the body of desires. It is a reflection of the higher self, distorted by the murky ethers of the flesh. The lower self is an illusion and will pass away. The higher self is Allah in man and will not pass away. The higher self is the embodiment of truth. The lower self is truth reversed, and so is falsehood manifest. The higher self is justice, mercy, love, and right. The lower self is what the higher self is not. The lower self breeds hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. The higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life. So, if I drop this money right here and walk away, and all of you see that, all of you are going to have the thought, I could either take it or return it to him. That's the battle of your higher self and lower self. Are you going to steal it, lower self, or are you going to give it back to me, higher self? That's the difference. It's not some spooky, mystical, well, what is the higher self and lower self? Really? It's that simple. So this book is telling you, you have a choice to make. With every single thing that you do, say, and think. The lower self is rich in promises, but poor in blessedness and peace. It offers pleasure, joy, and satisfying gain, but gives unrest, misery, and death. Isn't that what they say about the devil, right? Full of promises, can't deliver you nothing. That's your lower self. That's where we get addictions from. No, and I used to drink, smoke cigarettes all the time. I was addicted to it. Like, oh, if I just drink, I'm gonna feel better. Right? The promise of me feeling better never came. So I drank again. Didn't come. Drank again. Still didn't come. Kept drinking. Blacking out. Me making that choice. Not some devil whispered in my ear saying, do this and blah, 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 blah. No, that was me. I made that choice. You know what I'm saying? So what the priesthood have done is they teach us it's someone else doing it, not you. So now you feel good about your terrible choices.
And keep doing it.
And you keep doing it. Right? And you keep practicing it, which means you're doing it religiously or ritualistically. So now you're doing rituals. But we don't make the connection. Because we think, oh, I'm saved. I went to church and I jumped up and down and said, hallelujah. Right? Not knowing that you moving so much, there's energy flowing through your body. That's you creating that energy, not something entering you. So now that they got you all up here, all happy and stuff like that, they say, oh, pass around the collection plate. So now you're like, oh, yeah, I got the Holy Ghost. Here you go. Pass it around and now you broke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's exactly how it works. That's exactly how it works. Right? Then they pass it around. They got the homeboy and the keys. And God delivered us from the stuff. Meanwhile, go outside, our people are getting killed on the street every day. So what we delivered from? A bunch of us late in rent, so what we delivered from? Just got fired, so what we delivered from? Drugs in our community, so what we delivered from? But the key is to get you to think something else. To think what is opposite to what's right in front of you. So that way, since we've gotten this practice of, I don't know what to do, I'm going to go to the pastor. So now, you're taking that energy away from yourself and giving it to someone else. Which does what for him? Or her? Boosts them up.
Mm-hmm.
So now what are they doing? Pulling you into a pit.
Right.
And they stand in front of a what? Pulpit. And they're telling you that they're doing it. So again, the lower self is rich in promises, but poor in blessedness and peace. It offers pleasure, joy, and satisfying gain, but gives unrest, misery, and death. It gives men apples that are lovely to the eye and pleasant to the smell. Their cores are full of bitterness and gall. And then you do research on the priesthood and they're touching children. If you would ask me what to study, I would say yourselves, not some other man outside of you, not some being outside of you. Study yourself. And when you have well studied them and asked me what to study next, I would reply, yourselves. Meaning nothing outside of you.
Kingdom
You
is within
are
you.
nature. If you don't believe me that you're one with nature, take both feet off of the ground. And then stay there.
Can't do it.
So what's it tying you back to? Earth. Mother Nature. Not Father Nature. Mother Nature. He who knows well his lower self knows the illusions of the world, knows of the things that pass away. And he who knows his higher self knows Allah, knows well the things that cannot pass away. Thrice blessed is the man who has made purity and love his very own. He has been ransomed from the perils of the lower self and is himself his higher self. Men seek salvation from an evil that they deem a living monster of the netherworld. And they have gods that are but demons in disguise. All powerful, yet full of jealousy and hate and lust. Our God is a jealous God. How is the Supreme Being jealous?
Yeah, right.
When it created everything.
Right.
Don't make sense. Right? And then us having, being part of the divine creator, we have something called common sense. Right? So if the creator created all of us, we have something in common, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, common sense. So what the priesthood is having us do is reject our common sense, which is the God in us, and listen to the opinion or the dogmatic reasoning of someone else. Because that's his opinion, or her opinion. How they interpreted the text, when you can interpret it a different way. Right? And then depending on which Bible you get, it's already corrupt. Right? Because even with the Quran of Mecca, there's a verse in the Quran that says men are protectors of women. That's what it says. But in another version, it says men have power over women. Do you notice the difference? Which one sounds more in harmony with nature? To tie you back. Protector. Which one's dogmatic? Power over. How could I have power over my mother when she created me? How could any man have power over a woman when he came from one? Right? So these gods are but demons in disguise, all powerful yet full of jealousy and hate and lust, whose favors must be bought with costly sacrifice of fruits. Pass around that collection plate. And of the lives of birds and animals and humankind. And yet these gods possess no ears to hear, no eyes to see, no heart to sympathize, no power to save. This evil is a myth. What does myth mean?
Fairy tale?
Okay, that's a mythological.
Oh, I don't know.
Go to eddymonline.com.
I'm just going to tell you.
Alright.
Why?
Mu, right? Which in Phoenician, this is the symbol for M, which means water. Now, what does water do? Think of a river. What does it do? Which is doing what? It's what?
Changing.
Moving or changing. So the evil is always just something new. Oh, if you don't do this now it's the devil. Oh, because you didn't do this. So whatever you do is just constantly changing. Why? Because it's fake.
And you said that symbol is Phoenician?
Phoenician.
And what is that?
That's us. But they call it different.
So they try to call us Phoenician
Mm-hmm.
when Phoenician just means
Phonetic.
C-I-A-N. That means
Oh,
pertaining
sci-
to. Like musician, pertaining to music. Physician, pertaining to physics.
Isn't cyan a
This means
color?
sound. So pertaining to sound. Because we're the authors or creators of all things. We created languages. So they call us Phoenician connotatively when we're really just Moors. Yeah. So in history, they'll call us different names. Like black, they'll call us
Carth-
Egyptian, they'll call us Saracens, they'll call us Phoenicians, they call us
Carthage.
Ottomans, Turks, Aztecs, Nahigansids, Cherokee, as if we're different people so we can never unify. That's the purpose. And then since contemporarily or modernly, they teach us in school black, so when we try to research ourselves, we can't find no black people. So now since we can't tie back to a history and culture, we just accept what they give us. And since they gave it to us, they're the issuing authority, meaning they're the authority.
Yeah.
So they stay in power. That's how it works. Now it works beyond just spiritual, it's physical. Now we can talk about probate court and the birth certificate and how they're doing that, but we'll stick to this for now. Because this is talked about in the book of Revelations. It says no man or woman will be able to buy or sell unless they have the name of the beast or the number associated with that name. That name is that all capital letter name on that birth certificate and that social security number. You can't buy and sell nothing without it. And guess who issues it? The state. But wait, Jamal, they're Americans too. No, they ain't. And then just to not get off topic, because we can talk about this for hours, and it's kind of hot here. All right, so. And yet these gods possess no ears to hear, no eyes to see, no heart to sympathize, no power to save. This evil is a myth. These gods are made of air, clothed with shadows of thought. They tell you hell's scary and you burn in the eternal fire, so now you got images of it. So now you're lost in your own thoughts. Because remember, the universe is mental. So they get you distracted on these things. When you just look, wait a minute. These Europeans are doing this, not the devil. We're doing it, not the devil.
This is
So
the
now you have a
best
different
version that we
perspective on
use.
reality in life. The devil ain't selling drugs to your community. You're doing it. The devil's not killing your people in the street. You're doing it. And the European. They call them cops. But they're really inquisitionists. Right? The only devil from which men must be redeemed is self. The lower self. If man would find his devil, he must look within. His name is self. If man would find his Savior, he must look within. And when the demon self has been dethroned, the Savior love will be exalted to the throne of power. The David of the light is purity, who slays the strong Goliath of the dark and seeks the Savior love upon the throne. So they're telling you the story of David and Goliath was the story of the higher self and the lower self. And where did David hit Goliath? Right? With a smooth stone. Right? And the waters was running over it for many ages. Time immemorial. Now how far back does our ancestors go? Time immemorial. It's a Kabbalistic story. Our enemy seems huge, so-called white supremacy. It seems big. Well, if David slew Goliath, then why are you afraid? You know, your lower self and your urges and your addictions seem like you can't escape them. But if you chose to start doing it, you can choose to stop. That don't mean it's going to be easy, but you can still do it. Any questions on that?
I do have a question. I'm not sure it's
Yes.
about that.
Not really.
Does the Quran not talk about Jesus?
Yeah, the Quran talks about Jesus. The Quran calls Jesus a prophet.
Mm.
One of many prophets. Prophet just means messenger. It's not some fairy god that's floating. Right? And then when you actually read the Bible and read the Quran, Jesus was never crucified. His disciples went in to where Jesus was. They switched him out with someone that looked like him, and he was set free.
Yeah.
It says it right in the Bible.
Mhm.
Right in the Bible. And in the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
But they tell you he was crucified as if his works didn't mean anything, as if his works didn't continue after. Because if they killed a man so powerful, what does that mean about them? They must be stronger, huh? So now in our mind, we think, oh, these Romans, these pale-skinned people, killed a prophet?
Right.
They must be something else. And guess who's ruling? Pale-skinned people. And then they put Jesus, who's really Yeshua, they tell you in the book of Revelations, hair like lamb's wool, skin like burnished brass, and they put his pale skin up there.
Right.
So you worship him.
Right.
So now subconsciously you used to bow down to a pale person, so you go in the world, you see these so-called white people, who are you going to think is your master? Subconsciously.
Mm.
Them. They're the demons. But they're telling you it's someone else.
Mm.
Right? And when it talks about the Savior is self, I'm just here to teach you. I'm not the pastor guy. Come page them all. No, I'm telling you, you're your salvation. And then let's come together and help each other. Now, oh yeah, come to me. I got Jesus' phone number. I'll call God later. Just give me some, give me some tithe, which is Roman tax. Look up tithe. It means Roman tax. Just
And you'll be all right.
yeah, you'll be fine. Just pray.
At the end of the month, right? 10%. That's all I need.
Don't get into it. This is not just Christianity. They do it in the so-called Muslim church too.
Mm.
Yes, 10% of your earnings, and they ain't teaching you nothing. It says in the Bible and in the Quran. In the Bible, God will never help a people who don't help themselves. In the Quran, verily I say unto you, Allah will never help a people unless they help themselves. Why? Because God and Allah is you. But then, I went to the mosque, so-called Muslims. They said, oh yeah, to be with us, you got to admit that, God is not man. Or they say, Allah is not man. Allah is not nature. Allah is a supreme being in the blah, blah, blah. What? I'm good. Because what that does is, that sets it up so the person who read the Quran the most, and more, slick with their words, that means they get to stay in power, because you got to believe everything they say. Because they're telling you, Allah is up there.
Yeah.
Well, if you know that, that means you have a connection with them. So you subconsciously think that, that person's in charge. No!
Plus,
They're supposed to tell you the difference between dogma and religion. So you can make decisions that benefit your life.
plus in modern day, our people really don't read.
No,
So you go to a temple and let somebody else read to you, and they're only gonna pick and choose. Yeah.
It talks about it in the Quran. It talks about in that Quran right there. Some of these lessons are used for foundation in your life. Other lessons are Kabbalistic or metaphorical. Then it says those who have perversity in their heart will say, well, I understand everything in this book. And try to control you. When really only the wise understand not everything in this is literal.
Yeah.
Right.
It means something. Not all these human beings that you reference are real people. Some of them were, some of them were. But you have to be able to make the distinction. And the only way to do that is to know etymology.
Right.
So when you read phrases in the Bible like, the want of good is evil, you know that the word want means lack. So of course the lack of good is evil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. The terminology.
Yeah. So now, let's talk about the Creator. This is chapter 10. This is Jesus speaking on the unity of Allah and man. Barnes is the secret city of the Brahmins, and in Brahms Jesus taught. Erdrich made a feast in honor of his guest, and many high-born Hindu priests and scribes were there. And Jesus said to them, with much delight. I speak to you concerning life in the brotherhood of life. And Jesus said to them, the universal Allah is one, yet he is more than one. All things are one. So now when we're talking about the difference between polytheism and monotheism, it's all the same thing. There is one divine creator that we all come from. But then since we all come from that one source, it's in all of us. So now it's many. Poly. Theism. Theos, God. So now it's many. Get it? But it's one because you can only see from your perspective. You have your own lessons, just like I have mine. But that doesn't mean you're not God. Right? Some of us just forgot. Because of the priesthood. Who's been robbing us since birth. By the sweet breath of Allah, all life is bound in one. And then when you look up the definition of spirit, spirit means breath, as in respiratory system. First, it was the word, right? So if you touch a fiber of a living thing, you send a thrill from the center of the outer bounds of life. And don't you love it when your significant other touches you?
Yeah.
Doesn't that just do something to you? Or when someone hits you, doesn't that do something to you? Right. And when you crush beneath your foot the meanest worm, you shake the throne of Allah and cause the sword of life to tremble in its sheath. The birds sing out its song for men, and men vibrate in unison to help it sing. I love the birds personally. The ant constructs her home, and the bee is sheltering comb. The spider weaves her web, and flowers breathe to them a spirit in their sweet perfume that gives them strength to toil. Now men and birds and beasts and creeping things are deities made flesh, and how dare men kill anything?
Wow.
It is cruelty that makes the world awry. When men have learned that when they harm a living thing, they harm themselves, they surely will not kill, nor cause a thing that Allah has made to suffer pain. A lawyer said, I pray to Jesus, tell who is this Allah you speak about? Where are his priests, his temples, his shrines? And Jesus said, the Allah I speak about is everywhere. He cannot be compassed with walls, nor hedged about with bounds of any kind. All people worship Allah, the one, but all people see him not alike. The universal Allah is wisdom, will, and love. How many of those three things are nouns? Love is an abstract noun, meaning it's not tangible. It's not a physical thing. So it's what you do. It is your wisdom, your will, and your love. That's why it cannot be confined or confounded to any spaces. All men see not the triune Allah. One sees him as Allah of might, another as Allah of thoth, another as Allah of love. A man's ideal is his God, and so as man unfolds, his God unfolds. Just like just like me, right? I went to different churches looking for God. And then as my perspective changed, my God changed.
Right.
So I no longer needed those churches that were just wasting time. And I no longer needed the churches that make me jump up and down and, woo, we're super saved right now. I didn't need any of that because my perspective was different. And then I didn't need to go to the Muslims who bow down and blah, blah. I'm like, I don't need that. My perspective is different. Just like all of you have a different perspective. That doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong. It's just another perspective.
I have a...
Yes.
Can you just differentiate to them, I guess, what Muslim means?
Oh, Muslim? So this is the truth to what a Muslim is. Muslim...
Because you tell people you're Muslim, and then they think...
Yeah, but once people figure out what this is, then they'll realize, oh, I'm a Muslim too. Arm, leg, arm, head. So now, talk about a Muslim. They say Muslim is the one who submits to do the will of God, right? God is a verb, right? So you ain't doing the will of a noun, right? They'll also tell you Muslims face east and bow to pray 5 times a day, right? That's dealing with the philosophy of yoga. Because you have 2 major arteries that go from your spine to your brain. And guess what your brain needs to function? Oxygen. What brings that oxygen into your body?
When you move about.
Your lungs. Your breath. Right? You have something called broncholi in your lungs. They're basically tubes that get smaller and smaller and smaller to a molecular level so that your blood can then take that oxygen that's being, and bring it to your brain. It's being pumped via your heart. Right? So it's all a working mechanism. So and you do scientific study, research this. Scientists have correlated hunched back with retardation. So you're submitting to your own anatomy. So, for those who don't have discipline, they say, face east and bow 5 times a day to stretch your spine. To get the proper amount of blood flow to your brain. Because you need oxygen in your brain. Don't believe me. Think to yourself, when I have anxiety, what happens to my body?
Yeah, you
I'll
get.
tell you what happens.
Yeah.
Not breathing through your diaphragm. You're breathing from here up. So now your lungs aren't being filled with the right amount of oxygen, so your brain can't function properly. So the body being, nature is like, I'm trying to survive. So what does your heart do? Your heart begins to work harder because there's not enough oxygen getting to your lungs. So it's trying to get the little amount that you have to your brain in order for it to function properly. So now your spirit is messed up. Now your alignment is messed up. You can't even think right. Muslim. Muscle and limb. Arm, leg, arm, head. Jesus said you're God's, right? That's what Jesus said. Jesus said the kingdom is within you, right? So if the kingdom is in you and God sits on the throne, that means God is in you, right? Any questions? So don't believe me.
What how does
Look
that
up what your brain needs.
how does that Muslim relate to how it could be spelled in other ways, like M-O-S?
Muslim
Yeah.
Okay.
or Musulman.
Muslim means muscle, organs, skeletal system, limbs, electricity, and magnesium. Magnesium is produced in your brain, which is needed for proper brain function.
And what's the E for?
Electricity, which is dealing with your nervous system. And scientists will tell you when something touches you, it sends right? Neurons, those electric pulses to your body so you can feel it.
That's like when you're on the rug and
Yeah.
you start to like,
Your electricity, you're 70% water. Muslim.
Someone asked, let me see if I can find the chat.
So, while you find that. The lawyer said, I prayed to Jesus, tell us who is this Allah that you speak about? Where is his priests, his temples, and his shrines? Jesus said, the lie I speak about is everywhere. He cannot be compassed within walls, nor hedged about with bounds of any kind. All people worship Allah, the one, but all people see him not alike. The universal Allah is wisdom, love, and will. Men see not the triune Allah. One sees him as Allah of might. Another sees Allah of thought. Another is Allah of love. Right? We have different perspectives on what the Creator is. A man's ideal is his God. And so, as man unfolds, his God unfolds. Man's God today, tomorrow is not his God. That's us going from different religious orders, the Mormons, the Baptists, the the Catholics, the so-called Christians, the Protestants, the so-called Muslims. We're just all looking for something. And as our perspectives change, our God changes. The nations of the earth see Allah from different points of view. And so, he does not seem the same to everyone. But the
Peace,
Chinese
Nicola.
call God Shen. They have 7 lucky gods. The Christians say God created everything in 7 days. The people who claim spirituality claim that there's 7 Orishas. Right? The Jews claim Elohim, or the 7 spirits. 7 spirits. Right? The scientists say there's 7 major planets. What's the difference?
He's gonna wait for you to tell him the difference.
There is no difference. Because when you study the 7 Orishas, the 7 lucky gods, Elohim, the 7 days of the week, the 7 planets, you'll see the energies are the same. Mars is an energy.
7 chakras.
Venus is an energy. Just like Oshun is an energy. We're energy. So since I have a different zodiac sign than you, I have a different energy. That don't mean we're not gods. It just means my ruling planet is Mars. Or the god of war. Which I don't like that phrase.
God of war, you
No, it's just they associate Mars with destruction and blah, blah, blah. No. Get out of here with that. And even so, destruction is necessary. In order for spring to happen, what has to come first? The winter, to destroy things. Right? And they say you'll be baptized through the fire, right? Purification through fire, right? All right, so get with it.
Oh my goodness.
The
Just gotta
nations
let
of
everybody
earth
know.
See Allah from different points of view, and so he does not seem the same to everyone. Man names the part of Allah he sees, and this to him is all of Allah. And every nation sees part of Allah, and every nation has a name for Allah. Ibrahim's call him Parabim. In Egypt, he is Thoth. Zeus is his Greek name. Jehovah is his Hebrew name. But everywhere, he is the causeless cause, the rootless root, from which all things have grown. Meaning, there should be no differences.
We just
Because if your religion says love, and mine says love, and yours says love, and yours says love, then what's the difference?
we just have, I think the difference that people get confused is that because the prophet said in that Quran that
We honor all true and divine prophets.
and every nation has their own prophet. And prophet just means messenger.
To give you the good spell, gospel, not the bad one. The good spell. Because when I write, I'm casting a spell. Now let me show you some magic. I'm going to put a thought in your head. Watch this. What do you see? Did I not just cast a spell? I'm a magician. I'm serious. But they have us thinking magic is something else. Nah, that's magic. Right? So if I tell you, if you do this, the devil's going to get you. I just cast a spell on you. Right? But if I tell you, the only devil you need to worry about is you, that's a different spell. Yeah.
It's a whole different spell.
Whole completely different perspective.
Yeah.
Completely different thought pattern. Because if you start thinking, well, damn, I did something bad last week, and then the week before that, I'm going to hell. I'm not going to keep doing bad.
Right.
So now you're making a choice. When men are afraid of Allah and take for him a foe, they dress up other men in fancy garbs and call them priests, and charge them to restrain the wrath of Allah by prayers, and when they fail to win his favor by their prayers, to buy him off with sacrifice of animals or birds. When man sees Allah as one with him, as Father Allah, he needs no middleman, no priesthood to intercede. He goes straight up to him and says, Father God Allah, and then he lays his hand in Allah's own hand and all is well. You don't need me to get to something that's in here and right here. You make that connection. You figure out who you are. I can't do that. What I can do is say, hey, read this. And this is Allah. You are, each one of you, a priest unto yourself. And sacrifice of blood Allah does not want.
AKA practice what you preach.
Just give your life in sacrificial service to all of life, and Allah is pleased. Help each other. And since you're Allah and I'm Allah, if you help me, of course I'm going to be happy. Which, if we constantly help each other, now our quality of life goes up.
Right.
Our quality of life goes up. So now we're just happier in general.
They start getting worried.
When Jesus had thus said, he stood aside, and the people were amazed, but strove among themselves. Some said, he is inspired by holy Brahma, and others said, he is insane, and others said, he is obsessed. He speaks as devils speak. But Jesus tarried not. Among the guests was one, a tiller of the soil, a generous soul, a seeker of truth, who loved the words that Jesus spoke, and Jesus went with him, and in his home abode. Like you were saying earlier, you know, out of a crowd of 10, there might be 2 that listens. That's all that matters. Any questions?
Because I
Civics.
listen, they're gonna go get another crowd of 10 and 2 more.
So if you want this book, take a picture of it. Actually, you mind if I read something else? The Creation and Fall of Man. I love this. I love it.
What is that book called?
This is the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. It's called the Circle 7 because it represents the Logos. You know, they call Jesus the Logos, which just means logic. That's what Logos means.
Mm-hmm.
Logos, Logos, as in logo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It means logic. So the circle represents the zodiac wheel, or Ezekiel's wheel, or in my father's house there are many mansions, talking about the zodiacs.
Mhm.
Right? As above, so below. Since I was born in the sign of Aries, the sun was in Aries, so now I'm in Aries. As above, so below.
Like, you know.
The best.
Oh my God, you've already mentioned it twice.
So these 4 holes represent the 4 seasons.
Thank you.
Spring, summer, fall, and winter. The circle of life. Circle is a cycle.
Yep.
Right? You don't know where this begins and where it ends, because it doesn't. It's a circle. Endless. Right? The 7 represents the 7 days of the week, the 7 days of the month, and the 7 days of the year. They tell you there's 28 days, name them. If there's 28 days, you should have 28 names, right?
Yeah,
Right?
but it's only
There's
7.
only
Holy
7.
crap, yeah.
It's just a repetition of those days,
Yeah.
which is telling you that we measure time by a cycle. And then when you look at the Islamic calendar, it's measured by the cycle of the moon. And then we look up the definition of month, it means moon. And then women have a what cycle?
Moon.
A moon cycle. A menstrual cycle. Moon cycle. So you're a walking calendar. You are God. Represents the 7 chakras. Right? Although you have 106 in your body, 1 plus 6 is what?
Mm-hmm.
7. Again, 7 riches, 7 lucky gods, 7 Eloah, it's all 7. Right? So this, on the front it says, divinely prepared by the Prophet, by the guiding of his Father, Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man, which the word man means to think. Okay? So let me just break this down real fast. If you go to Etimon online again and look up man, the root word is M-E-N, which means to think. So it's not masculine at all. It doesn't mean male gender. It means to think.
M-E-N?
M-E-N, yep.
And the Etimon is ETYMON online.com.
So human is the invoking mind. That's what human means. It means you're God on earth. Right? And then when you thought about coming here today, you came, didn't you? So you invoked those thoughts, didn't you? You called it, you made it manifest, right? And when you think about something, don't you, sometimes when you're thinking about something, it pops up.
Mm.
Or when you think about someone, they call you, or they walk by, tell me you ain't God. Alright? So, to redeem man from his sinful ways and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his Father God Allah. Know thyself and Allah, the genealogy of Jesus in quotation marks, because his name was not Jesus, it was Yeshua ben Yosef.
And you
Because his father's name was Joseph. So Ibn or Ben means from. That's where you get the so-called name or the so-called concept of a last name. It just means who you're from. So it's a family name. So that tells you who his father was. Who his father was. Which means what? He was procreated. Which when you read the Bible, it says the only way to the Father is through the begotten Son. Beget means to procreate. Which means you need a man and a woman. So what you talking about? He was some angel raped Mary and then this guy came out. Nah. Begotten. So a man and a woman. It says it right in the Bible. Begotten. But the priest will tell you, nah, God came down and impregnated Mary and now he's read the book, he'll tell you what it is.
And Mary was a virgin.
Yeah.
And
She was
people
a
don't
Virgo.
do that shit.
Virgin. Virgo. She represented purity. Because she had to be pure. She had to be pure in order for her son to be pure. Because where's the first school? The womb. So her intentions, her thoughts, who she was instilled into him. And since men have the more, aggressive, energy, he went forth amongst the world and he said, this is what it is. Right? This is the life and works of Jesus in India, Europe, and Africa, and the land of Egypt. The works of Jesus in India, Europe, and Africa in the land of Egypt. So they're telling you Egypt is bigger than what you think it is.
So everybody is there.
The genealogy of Jesus with 18 years of his life, works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age, which they tell you he died at 33, right? You have 33 vertebrae in your back, in your spine. 33. That's what that's talking about. And the activation of your mind again. Krishna. These secret lessons are for all those who love Jesus, which just means justice, and desire to know about his life works and teachings. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They're for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons you can set your house in order, and your children will learn to love instead of hate. The lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity, as I am a prophet, and the servant is worthy of his hire, you can receive this pamphlet as expense. Since it costs money to make it, you gotta buy it. The reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. And when the time appointed by Allah, they loosened their keys and freed the secrets, and for the first time in ages, have these secrets been delivered in the hands of the Muslims of America. Now the reason why they were held back is because when you study the Inquisition and Crusades, you'll see that the Europeans, or Rome, was conquering the planet. So they didn't want certain lessons revealed to them because they were beasts. By the Prophet Nabi Ali, the industrious acts of the Muslims of the northwest and southwest Africa these are the Moabites, Hamites, Canaanites who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt, which is telling you Egypt is bigger than what they're telling
Hmm.
In the later years, they formed themselves kingdoms, and these kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. This is the creation and fall of man. Time never was when man was not. What does that mean?
There was no time where there were no men.
One person at a time.
You go first.
The man was here from the beginning of time.
There you go. Because man is what?
Mental.
Mind. So your mind didn't just be created. Your body was created, but that doesn't mean your mind was, right? Because if we're all from that source, that means our mind is from that one consciousness, right? And then that one consciousness, if you think about it like a drop of water, right? Or the divine creator as an ocean, right? If you think about yourself as part of that, you're just one drop of that ocean.
Right.
So that drop wasn't created. That cup that you're in was created.
Got a question.
Yeah.
On the Joshua situation, after Moses went through the wilderness for 40 years.
That's not. Never mind. Go ahead.
And all the people they didn't want to go through it, and Joshua took over, came over and just crushed it. After he crushed it, he said, okay, according to the Bible, this is yours, this is yours, this is yours. Now in the Bible, they show where they kicked out their cousins or their relatives, and then they took it over under God. Isn't that like a deed?
Yeah, it is a
That you
deed.
can use Joshua's word to say, well, according to these people belong, because this
Yeah.
is what God has said.
Yeah.
And it's in the Bible.
Yeah. But you're talking about, you're not necessarily talking about this is what God said. This is what the people agreed to.
Right. I'm just using the Bible as a written documentation
Yeah.
to what actually happened in history
Yeah.
and why those pharaohs are in Palestine, Tunis, and where they came from because of Joshua. It says it right there.
Yeah, but you're just talking about like a will.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm your son and he's your son, you're gonna put in your will who gets what.
Right.
That's what that's about. Right? If life of man at any time began, a time would come when it would end. The thoughts of Allah cannot be circumscribed. No finite mind can comprehend things infinite. All finite things are subject unto change. All finite things will cease to be because there was a time when they were not. Now think about this. When you were younger, do you ever remember really being different besides your physical body? No. I don't. I remember still being me. Only thing that changed was my beard, my hair, and I got taller.
Right.
That's it. So your mind never changed. Of course, you learned more, but who you were at its core never changed. Right?
Mhm.
Do we all say that that's true? Within our own
Yes.
self, right? The bodies and the souls of men are finite things, and they will change. Yea, from the finite point of view, the time will come when they will be no more. But man himself is not the body nor the soul. He is a spirit and a part of Allah. Creative fate. Creative fate. So you know how they try to say, that's your fate and you can't change it? It's creative. Right? So if I chose to stay in the military, I wouldn't be here. So my fate would be different.
Yeah.
So if you think, oh man, it's fate that I'm in this messed up situation. Maybe for a lesson, but you don't have to stay in that messed up situation.
Mhm.
Maybe for a lesson, which means you can choose to get out of it, but you still learn that lesson so now you can move on. So if you're stagnant, that's a choice. Creative fate gave to man, to spirit man, a soul that he might function on the plane of things made manifest. Function on the plane of soul. Gave him a body of flesh that he may function on the plane of things made manifest. Why did creative fate give to spirit man a soul that he might function on the plane of soul? Why did creative fate give to soul a body of flesh that he might function on the plane of things that are made manifest? Hear now, you cherubim, you seraphim, you angels, and you men. Hear now, O protoplast in earth and plant and beast. Hear now, ye creeping things of earth, ye fish that swim, ye birds that fly. Hear now, ye winds that blow, ye thunders and ye lightnings of the sky. Hear now, ye spirits of fire, of water, of earth and air. Hear now, Oh, everything that is or was or evermore will be, for wisdom speaks from all the highest plane of spirit life. Man is a thought of Allah. Where did those come from? You don't know, you just have them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're Allah.
Mm-hmm.
All thoughts of Allah are infinite. Where did those come from?
Those random thoughts that you just... Is that coming from me?
And then you can change it, right? They are not measured up by time, for things that are concerned with time begin and end. The thoughts of Allah are the everlasting of the past unto the never-ending days to come, and so is man, the spirit man. Don't you ever smell something like, whoa, where did I get this memory from? You take it back, right? You can't forget it. You can't.
Kind of reminds me of the stuff that we broke down the other morning in that book.
Wrong?
Yeah.
When I drew the thing with the ether,
Yes.
that was this.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
that
we're
book?
breaking this down.
Oh, okay.
But like every other thought of Allah was but a seed that held within itself the potencies of Allah. All you have the potential to be God, you just have to develop it to God, which is what school is for. But anyway, you don't do that. Just as the seed of any plant of earth holds deep within itself the attributes of every part of that special plant. Right? And then when you come out your mom's womb and then you start learning about yourself and then asking your mom questions, like, oh wait, I'm just like you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's very important who we mate with. Because we're creating another God. And that being that we just created is going to be like you and that other person. Is that what you really want? So now we're looking at, we're talking about my cousin just popping out babies left and right, but if you think about it like that, you're like, hold on. I might love this person, but this person's crazy. I don't think I want to. I still love you, but I'm not trying to bring another God here that's like both of us. So spirit man, as a seed of Allah, held deep within itself the attributes of every part of God. Meaning we have every part of God in us. Now seeds are perfect as the source from which they come. But they are not unfolded into life made manifest.
Those
They're
are
not unfolded, they're just... The child is as perfect as the mother is. So man, the seed, must be deep planted in the soil that he might grow, unfold, as does the bud unfold to show the flower. The human seed that came forth from the heart of Allah was full ordained to be the Lord of the plane of soul and of the plane of things made manifest. So here, we're the Lord of this place. How come we ain't taking care of it? We forgot. So Allah, the husbandman of everything that is, threw forth this human seed into the soil of soul. It grew apace, and man became a living soul. And he became the Lord of all the kingdom of soul. Hark now, let every creature hear, the plane of soul is but the ether of the spirit plane, vibrating not so fast. And in the slower rhythm of this plane, the essence of life are manifest. The perfumes and the odors, the true sensations, and all of love are manifest. So, I wrote down this thing, because I was reading this and I was trying to explain it. How can we explain this and make it like less mystical than that?
It was one of the thumbtacks with the string thing. We were like...
I drew this diagram in my Quran that's falling apart.
Sonny from Philadelphia.
yeah. Sorry, everyone. The camera woman's not here today, so you got me. Shaky Kim. Mm-hmm. Get the spicy one.
So this is how I basically broke down the spirit, the soul, and the body,
Peace.
and the ethers. So they say the soul is just the ether plane vibrating not so fast. Then when you look up the definition of ether, it talks about this rare substance more finer than air that allows electromagnetic energy to pass through it, right? So if you think of the spirit, the one, the creator, as divine energy, right? And scientists will tell you that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, right? So that would be God. Can't be created nor destroyed. So if the source is unlimited, like the sun, then our soul will be like a solar panel that takes that energy from the ether plane, right? Which is stored in our body so that we can use it as energy. Tracking? Get it? That makes sense, right?
Right.
So that's how I broke it down. That doesn't mean this is the end all be all and you have to believe that. I was trying to figure out if I was trying to explain this to a child, because this is like high level stuff. How can we simplify this? This is what I came up with.
Can you repeat that one more time?
This part, I'll just read it.
Okay.
All right. Let every creature here, the plane of soul is but the ether of the spirit plane vibrating not so fast. So when you look up the definition of spirit, spirit means breath. When you look up the definition of ether, ether is air or breath but a finer substance that allows electromagnetic energy to pass through it. Right? So that energy is passing through a solar panel, which would be your soul. Right? And in the slower rhythm of this plane, the essences of life are manifest. Right? The perfumes and the odors, the true sensations, and the all of love are manifest. And these soul attributes became a body beautiful, a multitude of lessons man must learn on the plane of soul. And here he tarries many ages until his lessons are all learned. So when people talk about reincarnation, you're here for a reason. But that doesn't mean it's a bad reason. Some of us are here to save our people. Some of us are here to just watch. Either way, we're all learning something. Upon the boundary of the plane of soul, the ether began to vibrate slower still, and then the essence took on a final garb. This. The perfumes and the odors and the true sensations and the all of love were clothed in flesh. And man was clothed in flesh, because man is mind. Perfected man must pass through all the ways of life, and so a cardinal nature was full manifest, a nature that sprang forth from fleshly things. Without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength, and thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. And so this cardinal nature soon became a foe that man must fight, and that he may become the strength of Allah made manifest, God on earth. Not waiting until you die, God on earth. Not waiting until you get on a cloud, God on earth. Honor thy mothers and thy fathers, that thy days will be lengthened upon this earth land, not a cloud, which the Lord thy God, Allah, hath given thee. Not waiting until you die. That's that dogma. Be a shitty person. You'll be happy later. Just keep paying me. That's the part that that's about. Right? Let every living thing stand still and hear. Man is the Lord of the plane of manifest, of protoplast, of mineral, of plant, of beast. But he gave up his birthright just to gratify his lower self. So we give up thinking and reading because we want to be rappers. We want to be drug dealers. We want to be strippers. We want to be models. All that lower vanity. They call it vanity for a reason. What does vanity mean? Uselessness. Right, Bob Marley, I don't want to wait in vain. I don't want to wait for nothing.
Yeah.
Then they show you Vanity Fair magazine, right? Just wasting your time on uselessness. Right? But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage. But he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. Yea, he must suffer trials and temptations manifold. But let him know that cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the sun and spirit of the mighty Allah, who rule the solar stars, astrology, are his protectors and his guide. It doesn't say in the Bible, the wise man followed the stars, right? And they will lead to victory. Man will be fully saved, redeemed, perfected by the things he suffers on the plane of flesh and on the plane of soul. When man has conquered carnal things, his garb of flesh will then have served his purpose well, and it will fall, will be no more. Then he will stand untrampled on the plane of soul, where he must complete his victories. Unnumbered foes will stand before man upon the plane of soul. These he must overcome, yea, every one of them. Thus hope will ever be his beacon light. There is no failure for the human soul, because we're here for lessons, right?
Right.
So how can you fail? If you're here for a lesson, how can you fail? Only way to fail is if you keep rejecting that lesson. Meaning, like our cousin, can't provide for what he already got, keeps reproducing. You obviously didn't learn your lesson. Get it? I know we're all not dumb, but right? Thus hope will be his beacon light. There is no failure from the human soul, for Allah is leading on and victory is sure. Man cannot die. The spirit man is one with Allah, and while Allah lives, man cannot die. When man has conquered every foe upon the plane of soul, the seed will have full opened out, will have unfolded in the holy breath. The garb of the soul will then have served its purpose well, and man will need it nevermore. And it will pass and be no more, and man will attain unto the blessedness of perfectness and be at one with Allah. Any questions on that? All right, so I'm going to wrap it up with this last chapter. It's dealing with the education of Mary and Elizabeth, right? To show the women that your womb is where our saviors will come from. Every single one of you, not just one special one of you, all of you, with this mindset. Now, I asked my mom, like once I started reading this and realizing that the womb is the first schoolroom, I asked my mom, what type of stuff were you into when you were pregnant with me? She said I was staying at home. Guess what I like to do? Stay at home. She said I was drinking Sprite and eating cookie dough. And when I was not vegan, guess what my favorite drink was? Sprite. And guess what I used to do when she used to get a tub of cookie dough and put it in the fridge? Eat it. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So what I started to realize is, like, when women get like certain cravings for hunger, you're literally teaching that child willpower, the power of your will, the power to fight your urges. So we really need to start looking at pregnancy a little different. Well, at least I know I needed to. I can't speak for all y'all, but I was like, I need to start looking at this like, this is serious, right? So this is the education of Mary and Elizabeth. The son of Herod, Archelaus, reigned in Jerusalem. He was a selfish, cruel king. He put to death all those who did not honor him. He called a council, all the wisest men, and asked about the infant claimant to his throne. The council said that John and Jesus were both dead. Then he was satisfied. Now Joseph, Mary, and their son, nope. Jesus had siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Look it up.
Yep.
What's that movie called?
Which one?
The Da Vinci Code? What's
Yeah.
the Da Vinci Code?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
With
they
Tom
talk
Hanks.
about how Jesus had a brother, he had a wife, he had children.
Mm-hmm.
The Holy Grail is the womb of woman. That's what the Holy Grail is. So the Europeans or the Romans looking for the Holy Grail, they're really suppressing women.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you look at the Masonic orders, they have this. They have the crescent moon, represents your womb. Then they have your head on it and a sword through it, meaning the suppression of your mind to suppress your womb, because your womb is the nation.
Mm-hmm.
She gets it. Right? So Joseph and Mary and their son were down in Egypt and Zoan, and John was with his mother in the Judean hills. Eliu and Salome sent messengers in haste to find Elizabeth and John. They found them. They brought them to Zoan. Now Mary and Elizabeth were marveling much because of their deliverance. Eliu said, "It is not strange. There are no happenings. Law governs all events." No such thing as coincidence. No such thing that you're my cousin and you're my aunt. There's no such thing as that's a coincidence. No such thing as y'all see me grow up and y'all know who I am. That's not a coincidence. Right? From olden times, it was ordained that you should be with us and in the sacred school be taught. Eliu and Salome took Mary and Elizabeth out to the sacred grove nearby where they were wont to teach. Eliu said to Mary and Elizabeth, "You may esteem yourself thrice blessed, for ye are chosen mothers of long-promised sons." Talking about the men that we need here to help fix this problem. Because there's a war against our women. But they portray it in the news and etc. as it's against the men. I was talking to Aunt Deborah, and she told me back before I was born, I think, when she lived in the projects, the housing so-called authority would come in and do random house inspections.
Yeah.
But they were really trying to see if the man was in the house or not.
Yeah.
So the war is not against the men.
Back in the day, Washington used to do that.
Yeah.
They would hide the men in the closet.
Worn off.
Yeah.
There was a
Yeah.
movie called
Sparkle.
Sparkle and Claudia. They put her in the closet. Daddy had to go in the closet. What that do to his self-esteem?
Because in the Quran, men are protectors of women. So in order to be in charge of you, guess what our enemy has to do? Get us out the way. Have us thinking, don't treat your mother and your women with respect. Have them twerking in your music video. Don't honor them. Sell drugs to them. Be their pimp. That's how Rome is winning. Right? Who are ordained to lay a solid rock, a sure foundation stone, on which the temple of perfect man shall rest. A temple that shall never be destroyed. We measure time by cycle ages, and the gate to every age we deem a milestone in the journey of the race. When we talk about the galactic year, you know, the galactic calendar, the cosmic year, when we talk about that. An age has passed, and the gate unto another age flies open at the touch of time. This is the preparation age of soul, the kingdom of Emmanuel, of Allah and man. So basically what we're dealing with is we're coming out of the age of Pisces, which is dealing with belief. We're now entering the age of Aquarius, which is dealing with knowledge and the advances of technology. So back then, it was easier to just play people. Because you can't Google Etimon online. That's why they say back in the day, blacks weren't allowed to read. So now you gotta just believe what so-called European man says. Right? But now, with the advance of technology, they can't stop this. Right? Because I learned this stuff from a guy who was in Delaware. That wouldn't have been possible without, YouTube. Right? And then before that, Noble Drew in 1913, they didn't have no internet back then. So the progress of the people was a little slower. But now, nope. Which is why they're promoting a bunch of these distractions on TV and, oh yeah, what's Cardi B doing? And what's all this other stuff doing that has no effect on your life at all? So they're training us from an early age to be distracted, so we don't care for each other. We're in our phone like this all day.
Respect one another.
Yeah. Right? A mighty works is theirs. Excuse me. And these your sons will be the first to tell the news and teach the gospel, good spell, of goodwill to men and peace on earth. A mighty works is theirs, for carnal men want not the light. They love the dark, and when the light shines in the dark, they comprehend it not. We call these sons revealers of the light, but they must have the light before they can reveal the light. Hence, the mothers were pregnant, so the mothers had to be taught first. Because once mother gets it, just like she sets her house in order, she'll set the planet in order. Which is why the war is against you. Then when you research, you'll find out most of the women were warriors, not just sitting at home cooking. Up front, fighting. And you must teach your sons and set their souls on fire with love and holy zeal, and make them conscious of their missions to the sons of men. Meaning some of us know, our people don't know. It's our responsibility to help teach them. Because I don't get out of poverty until you get out of poverty. You don't till he does. You don't till she does. All of these things are bound together by cords. As long as one of us is suffering, we're all suffering. Therefore, it's all of our responsibility to get out of this. Nah, oh yeah, Jamal got it, he'll teach, we're good. Nah. Right? Teach them that Allah and man are one, but through carnal thoughts and words and deeds, man tore himself away from Allah, debased himself. This is where they start saying, you know, we started following the idol gods of Rome. Idol means what?
Still?
You're not moving, right? But God means to invoke. So something would have to be moving. You get it? So they're teaching you what words mean. So now your whole community is idle. You can't move. That's dealing with the Tower of Babel. All the people speaking one language. They couldn't be destroyed. So the Lord came in and divided the language.
I can't communicate.
Now we can't even communicate. But the priests are telling you it's because you speak Arabic, you speak Spanish, you speak Portuguese, so you can't talk to each other. You can. Because it's the same family of languages. They're talking about, we don't know the difference between connotative linguistics, or what a word can imply, and denotative linguistics, which is the true definition of a word. So now, since I read, I go amongst our people and say, we're not black. Since they have a different understanding of the word black, they think it means African identity. We can't build now. So now we're destroyed. But when you know the true definition is the etymology, then you can't be destroyed. You can't tell me I'm not black. Black's an adjective, not a noun. Black means pale. This don't look pale to me. Right? That's why it's a mighty work. To get our people to think. Because we've been trained since we were born to not have to think. Oh, yeah, just play on that iPad for 12 hours a day. Don't read a book, just watch videos. Or just watch TV, don't read nothing. Or just play video games, don't read. Just read. What? No, we don't do that. Which is where they get the saying, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. They know we don't read. Because for some reason they teach us, you know, our ancestors were forbidden from reading. So, all right, cool, we don't need to read them. Right? Teach them that holy breath would make them one again, which is why I told you breathing, the spine, the activation of your brain, you need proper oxygen, right? Holy breath. That naught can make them one but love. That Allah so loved the world that he clothed his son in flesh, that man may comprehend. The only Savior of the world is love. And Jesus, son of Mary, comes to manifest that love to men. Now love cannot manifest until its way has been prepared. And naught can rend the rock and bring down lofty hills and fill the valleys up and thus prepare the way but purity. But purity in life men do not comprehend. And so it too came in flesh. And you, Elizabeth, are blessed because yours is purity made flesh. And he shall pave the way for love. Now, who was the forerunner of Jesus?
Yeah,
John the Baptist.
yeah. And that, so John the
So,
Baptist is
Is love, is purity made manifest. Jesus is love made manifest.
Okay.
So just like Marcus Garvey was purity made manifest, Joel Lee was love made manifest. And that cycle repeats.
Right.
Cycle repeats.
Stuff, man.
This age will comprehend but little of the works of purity and love, but not a word is lost, for in the book of Allah's remembrance a registry is made of every thought and word and deed. And when the world is ready to receive, lo, Allah will send a messenger to open the book and copy from its sacred pages all the messages of purity and love. And every man of earth will read the words of life in the language of his native land, and men will see the light, walk in the light, and be the light. And man again will be one with Allah.
Sorry, I'm just responding to someone who seems confused. Moors are a people, and Moors can have different religions.
Yeah, you can have whatever religion you want. So same. Just in every religion, know the difference between dogma and religion. Any questions? Peace.
Yeah. Thank you for
What's
coming.
your name again, sir?
Wayne. Nice to meet you, Wayne.
Hopefully you come back. Peace.
Boom. One more.
That's right.
Thank you.
Islam.
How long have we been live?
2 hours.
Any questions?
So John is Elizabeth's son?
Yeah.
Okay. I can read about that in the Bible.
But remember, the bloodline of Jesus is through Ruth the Moabitess. So David, Jesus, they're all Moors.
When you asked me to open up the book to religion, what came up? What was the first thing I opened to? Did you see what I was reading? It was Moabite. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was Moabite, yeah. Wow. Ruth the Moabitess, yeah.
No questions?
Someone online just had a simple question that I can answer. Moors are originally from Northwest Africa, which this continent of America is the most extreme west. And if you study the body of the structure of the continents over time, they were all connected at one point. So this is Africa. We're just,
The land just moved on?
yeah, there's just a big old river in between.
Like a puzzle. You put it all together.
In the Bible, that river
It's called the Mediterranean, or the Middle Passage.
here was called the river.
Oh, all right. Well, since no one has questions, I guess I gotta sign out.
Well, you know, I'm just standing here recording with my
Thank y'all for
cramping
tuning
in.
Hope you learned something.
We'll be back next week.
Be back next week, same time,
Oh, yeah.
12:30 every Saturday.
I'll
Also,
be in Harlem,
Again.
July.
No.
Long Island.
Long Island.
July 12th to the 14th.
Mhm.
And then I'll be in Texas.
Hold on, there's a little more.
Texas, August 24th.
Be there.
Be there or be square.
Peace.
Go to the heart of Texas. That's that land country.